When the artifact of evil is unearthed from its ancient hiding place, it becomes the object of a battle between the forces of good and evil. At stake is the fate of the entire world of Earth, the lives of those who preserve and protect the forces of good. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Gary Gygax's Artifact of Evil. Artifact of Evil is a 1986 novel by Gary Gygax in Book 2 in Gord the Rogue, which is also one of the Greyhawk adventures, though this is the second book in the series, and there's 7. This is the last one that's connected with Greyhawk, as after this was released, Gygax would get, ousted from TSR and then retain the rights to Gord the Rogue, and he would publish the rest of the series not under TSR. The book starts with an epic battle. There's a siege upon a castle. There are awesome magics, fiery elementals, trolls, gnomes, ogres, siege weapons, and a vast host. In Chapter 2, we finally meet Gord, who is with the attackers. The castle is Strand Keep on the edge of Pomage. We get the first inklings of the machinations of the Scarlet Brotherhood and the priesthood of Tharizdun, if I'm saying that correctly. An artifact of evil nature emerges, and Gord and his friends must prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. These friends are Curly the Druid and the Hard Gelor. It took me a couple minutes of thinking to recall Gelor from Book 1, but I remembered Curly from the demon encounter, and I was missing Chert, who is away at the start of the book. I read the first book, though, about 2 years ago, so it's not that surprising. I have done a review for that. That was one of my first reviews, actually. It becomes very evident early on that this is more in the vein of Shannara or Dragonlance. It moves from the sword and sorcery of the first book, and mixed with the coming of age, of course, of Saga of Old City, and more into epic fantasy, the D&D type of epic fantasy as well. Admittedly, it's not completely good versus evil of Tolkien, I guess, if you want to paint Tolkien that way, but it's mixed with the law and chaos of Morcock's Elric. I believe the collection Knight Errant returns to Gord's thievish small-scale adventures. I have not read it yet, but I feel like I'd enjoy that more, especially since I really enjoyed Saga about Old City and its Fafhrd and Grey Mouser type of story, and the short stories I've read of Gord as well, I have enjoyed. The party here, I think, is over large for your typical D&D party. It's at 13 for most of the time, which, I say overly large for these days. I know in first edition AD&D, that was actually not super uncommon from what I've read by the likes of, I think, Jeff Grubb, maybe it was Philip Athens. So anyways, I'm not going to go over each member of that party, but Gelor, Curly, and as I mentioned, Oscar, Deirdre. The first is a wizard of those last two, and the second is the only woman. She's coolly a paladin, actually. And she doesn't have the best character ever. She seems maybe to be one of those problems of a man writing a woman. I can leave that up maybe to other readers. We do get more a tour of the Flaunas and see settlements like Badwall, Hamlet, which is cool. Instead, in landscapes like Susforce, we see some ruins, and that whole sequence of ruins actually is rather exhilarating. And there's other stuff, of course. We also get the bad guy's point of view. It's Yuz, I don't know, who is a god who rules the Yan Empire, I think, in the Flaunas. He is a campion, an offspring of Grazit and Tasha. We have a drow with him as well, a Klav Dra. I don't know if they've appeared in other D&D fiction. Drow, I mean, before the Crystal Shard. This is actually before the Crystal Shard. Well, rather, sorry. I didn't know they appeared in other D&D fiction before the Crystal Shard. I knew Drow existed, obviously, in D&D as a game, but I thought the Crystal Shard might have been the first appearance of a Drow in a novel. As a dwarf, Obmi has a hammer that returns to him like Wolfgar's Aegis Fane as well, which is interesting. And speaking of Obmi, there are more demi-humans in this book than there were in the first one. Melf also shows up. And about, we get less Gord in some parts, and that isn't exactly fun. The novel doesn't go quite like you would imagine. And it's definitely not up to the quality of the first book, I feel like. Maybe if you're more into the epic fantasy type of thing, especially maybe some mid-80s D&D influence, especially since this is a D&D novel itself, maybe this will be more up to your thing, but I'm actually not looking forward to the rest of the series. I really enjoyed Saga of Old City. I'm not sure I'll read the rest, actually, at this point. I might read City of Hawks, since I know it's a retelling of Saga of Old City, but it probably has a different setup, if I were to guess. And I might read Knight Errant, since that's short stories. But overall, this novel is just kind of okay from my experience. But let me know if you think differently. Maybe Greyhawk fans disagree. So I'm mostly a Forgotten Realms guy. If you are new to the channel, I review a lot of Forgotten Realms stuff. But I've read some in like Ravenloft, Dragonlance, and Greyhawk. And I've liked Greyhawk from what I've read. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I will catch you next time.